right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me.
Right now,
ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
This is what it's all about.
Let's take it from here.
You're gonna dance until your feet fall off.
The new sensation of the nation, no doubt.
Make some noise out there!
Would you do a little something for a little parting music?
Are you guys gonna like kick it old school?
Let's get down to business.
Hello, this is Ian Levine, and you are listening to Disco Queen with Wayne DJC.
should be strong when I'm with you. I just can't win. Honey, baby, your sweet love is my weak spot. It's my weak spot.
Welcome to another edition of Disco Queen on Spotify, Podbean and also YouTube. Every fortnight I play Studio 54 Beats and Celebrity Chat. On this edition of Disco Queen, we have an absolute legend on the show, producing tracks since the 1970s and the 1980s. Pioneer of Northern Soul in the UK and also high energy music. DJ'd at one of the biggest clubs in the UK that's still running now, Heaven in London. I have a very long interview coming up with Ian Levine, so we're going to get on with the interview, and this is part one. I'm excited to be talking to not only a pioneer of high energy music but also pioneer of Northern Soul in the UK. Welcome Ian Levine to Disco Queen. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. I hope your listeners understand this is not just about high energy music. It's going to be about soul music, northern soul, and even pop stuff like Take That.
You were born 5 a.m. on June the 22nd, 1953, in a little nursing home in Rees Avenue, Blackpool, to a wealthy Jewish family.
They weren't wealthy yet. The wealth came with the casino and nightclub.
Okay.
With the dress shops they had, they were wealthy enough to buy. When I was born in 1953, they were living in a little small house on South Park Drive, I think it was. They weren't rich then, but they managed to get enough money together to buy this mansion, like a 5-bedroom mansion in South Shore of Blackpool, which was beautiful. It had acres and acres of land. I mean, I grew up in luxury, but they weren't rich at first. They made the money together as a team. My mother was just as much a part of it as my father was. Married in August of 51, and I was born in June of 53.
And your mother, Ruth, was only 20 at the time?
No, she was 19 when she married.
And your father, Sidney, is described in your autobiography as being a big, strapping, handsome, fair-haired Jewish man.
Yes. When he married her, he became fat and bald. My mother was obsessed with not being bald, so she used to take his hair from one side, grow it, comb it over to the other, and lacquer it, so it looked like he had a full head of hair.
Okay. And he was quite a strict Orthodox Jew as well.
Yeah, he had his own opinions of the world. He wanted everything to be normal, and he was very strict. I was not the son he expected or wanted.
And it was Reverend Cyril Breslavsky who was
married to my father's first cousin.
Indeed, Stella Fisher.
Yeah, you really done your homework here.
And your father was an amateur home movie fanatic as well.
We got phenomenal amounts of film from 1953 when I was born.
Wow.
Masses of film of them. My grandmothers, both grandmothers, my parents, and everybody holding me as a baby when I was 11 weeks old. He must have took 20 reels of it. When they sold the house in 1980, and I moved down to London, I came to Blackpool and rescued it. It was all in a box to be thrown out. So I rescued all the film, had it all edited in one big reel and had it all put on video.
Now we're going to go back to 1970 when you became a world-famous pioneer of Northern Soul as both a DJ and a producer with a love-hate affair with fans.
1968, my parents were going to America and I went with them every year for summer holidays. And one year we went to Los Angeles, Las Vegas, New Orleans and Miami. And in New Orleans, in 110-degree heat, I was going around the junk shops finding these old records for sale for like 10 cents each. And look, in Miami, there was a shop called These Rare Records. In 68, I came up with loads of what we call Northern Soul. And I was too young to go to Twisted Wheel. I wanted to go, but I was too young. So I finally got to go to Twisted Wheel in late 1970 when I was still only, I was 17. Yeah, she went for a few years. I thought it was 16. You weren't supposed to be allowed in if under 18 anyway. But when I started going, I brought my loaded box of records, of rare records, like Rose Batiste, Hit and Run, and took them to the DJ, Les Cacel. I said, you've got to hear these. And he didn't, being specialist Northern Soul DJs, they didn't want to listen to stuff that strangers had brought along. But he put the headphones on and listened to Rose Batiste's record, and his face dropped. He went, oh my God. So he played it next, and all the collectors in there come running up to see what it was. Here's this 17-year-old kid from Blackpool bringing super rare records they've never heard of. That's how it started. And then when the Twisted Wheel was closed down by the police, the Northern Soul crowd had nowhere to go. So they split. One lot went to Blackpool Mecca, which closed at 2 o'clock. It wasn't an all-nighter, but they became faithful to Blackpool Mecca. The other lot went to the Metro, little tiny all-nighter in Wakefield, in Yorkshire. And then the police came running in and stopped everybody, shone torches in everyone's eyes. Because if you're on speed, amphetamines, you just keep dancing all night. Your pupils dilate. That's how they could tell. And including me, I was 17 at the time. They all got pulled into the police station, which really is kind of against civil rights. You know, I can understand they search you, you've got pills on you, but they're trying to say by having taken you got pills inside you. That made the newspapers in Blackpool. My father was embarrassed. I was at Manchester University. They pulled me out because I was clearly not doing anything there. I wasn't going to lectures. I was wasting my time there. And here I was in their eyes, was a juvenile delinquent having taken these pet pills. I did Blackpool Mecca with Tony Jebb, me and Tony Jebb, from 1971 to the end of 72, when he left to go to the Torch in Stoke-on-Trent. Then he finally brought me along with him to the Torch. I did it at the Torch late 72 until spring 73. When that was closed down, I then did a short while at the Top Rank in Hanley, run by the guy who owned the Torch. And then I went back to Blackpool because Colin Curtis, who was the DJ at the Torch, and Keith Minshall got Blackpool Mecca back. So Blackpool Mecca reopened in 73, and Colin got rid of Keith Minshall and got me to go on there. So I DJ'd at the Mecca from 73. Having done 71 and 72, I went back again in 73 and DJ'd there right until July of 79.
In 1972, the Golden Torch All-Nighters is where Major Lance made his famous first appearance at the club.
Mate, it was legendary that night. Contempo Records was a whole studio recording mobile stuff album. They recorded the whole album, put it out as an album, Major Lance Live at the Torch. Major Lance was an artist whose name meant nothing in England, had some small soul hits in America, but was most known for this run from about 63 to 68, 69, of records that had that quintessential Northern Soul beat, Four on the Floor, with a Motown kind of sound, but they were recorded in Chicago, usually by Curtis Mayfield. So Major Lance was the hero. The biggest artists on the Northern Soul team, Major Lance, J.J. Barnes, and nobody else in there. They're the two biggest ever.
You championed the Carstairs.
I heard the Carstairs in 1973 on a Miami radio station. It's given promo copies to stations, but then it was distributed by Chess Records. They got bankrupt the week it was supposed to be released, so it was never released. It only had these white label promotional copies been sent to radio. And I begged the station, Miami, will you sell it me? I'll give you $100 for it. And they wouldn't. So I went back home with no Carstairs and spoke to John Anderson, who ran a company called Soul Bowl, who imported records. He managed to find 3 copies of it, so I went down to King's Lynn and bought it off him. Then I played it at Blackpool. I gave a whole speech when I came and I used to do an hour, then Collins did an hour. We'd alternate back and forwards all night. So I said to everybody, you know, this is different. This is Northern Soul with a difference, because it has a more modern beat. There's still Northern Soul with the kind of vocals and style. You've got to trust me and dance to it because you'll love it. So I played at the beginning of my spot. By the end of the spot, and I was about to go off, I said, all right, next record, and I'm handing over to Colin Curtis. They all stood in front of the stage clapping, Carstairs, 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 clapping their hands and stomping their feet. So I thought, oh yes, all right. So I put it on again, and they screamed with delight. About an hour later when I'm coming on, they're all doing it again, Carstairs, Carstairs, we want the Carstairs. So I played it again. I think I never normally play a record more than once a night, but I ended up playing about 6 times that night. By the following week, it was the biggest record on the entire Northern Soul scene. Phenomenal, game-changing, reaffirming record that changed the whole Northern scene. And the purists hated me because I was modernising Northern Soul.
Is that around the time you formed Motor City record label?
No. My first record I produced was in 1975. I went to New York to produce legendary soul group, The Exciters, on a song that I wrote with them, with a guy, Herb Rooney, from the group, Reaching for the Best. That was my first ever song I wrote, first ever hit. And here, you can listen to it right now.
I've got the price of a Ford. I'm looking for a Rolls Royce. I want an evening gown. I can't afford a house dress. I want
If you just tuned in, you're listening to Disco Queen, a show I do every fortnight, where I play Studio 54 beats and I have a celebrity guest on the show. This week we're also playing Northern Soul because my guest is the legendary Ian Levine, pioneer of Northern Soul. Tracks so far that we played, we kicked off with Evelyn Thomas and her 1976 hit Weak Spot, and the track that's just been playing, The Exciters, Reaching for the Best. And right now we're going to go back to the interview with Ian Levine.
After the success of Reaching for the Best, I got the bug to make more. So I met a guy from Chicago called Danny Leake, who ran a group called 100% Pure Poison, who'd appeared in Berlin Mecca when I was DJing. They were fantastic. So I said to him, why don't you make some music with me? So I flew over to Chicago, stayed at his house, and I paid money to find 3 singers. We auditioned a load of people, and we found Barbara Pennington, L.J. Johnson, and Evelyn Thomas. We cut 2 songs on each of them. I came out. Evelyn and L.J. Johnson Barbara was left out because her record wasn't a hit. Evelyn and L.J. Johnson's records were so big from the Northern Soul scene, they both went into the charts the same week. One at 26 and one at 28. And they both appeared on Top of the Pops the same week. Of course, I'm lucky I've got the video recording of. I've had 3 British hits in quick succession. I was made for now. But of course, then the backlash started. The people of the Northern Soul scene decided Ian Levine's just using it to make his records. Instead of stopping and think, hang on, it gives you a chance for some young new soul singers in America to have a career they wouldn't have otherwise. But, I started making more with Doris Jones, Tyrone Ashley, Carol Woods. I had a whole load. I was making Northern Soul. So the Mecca crowd loved it, but everyone else dismissed it as tailor-made Northern Soul. The big turning point was the Barbara Pennington song, 24 Hours a Day, which became my first American hit, was #1 on the American disco charts, #1 for 7 weeks on the American disco charts, and #1 individually in each city and Billboard. They did the disco analysis. It was huge. 7 weeks at #1. Also, at the same period, because United Artists had put it out, and at the same time I got Doris Jones signed United Artists. I did a song recorded in England with her. She flew in from New York called No Way Out, which is possibly the greatest disco song I made in the 70s. So I've introduced Doris Jones, I introduced Barbara Payne 24 Hours a Day. After the success of 24 Hours a Day, I was entrenched in the disco market with Fear. And my Irish co-producer, Fear Trench, was a string arranger, and we did a 16-minute track called My Claim to Fame, which was cut down to like 4 minutes for a single and 7 minutes for 12-inch. But it was #1 again on the disco charts for 7 weeks. 7 has been a very magical number in my career. Barbara Pennington was #1 on the disco charts for 7 weeks. James Wells was #1 for the disco charts for 7 weeks. Later on, the Pasadeers were top 5 in England for 7 weeks. Take That sold 7 million albums. Evelyn Thomas High Energy sold 7 million singles. So #7 has a great, great effect on my career, almost like a magical number.
We're going to go back to 1974. You had associates Simon Susan and an ex-employer, Chris Burton, started bootlegging every big popular Northern Soul record at the time.
Not together. Chris Burton owned the torch, and he formed a label called Out of the Past. And they were bootlegging every big Northern Soul record. I got fed up of it, so I involved the British photographic industry, and I involved BPI, and I involved the MCPS, who collect royalties on songs for records, and they sued them, and I got death threats and all sorts.
Wow.
But Chris Burton had nothing to do with Simon Susan. Simon Susan was a bootlegger. He was a record dealer, finding rare records. Him and I were kind of respected each other, but serious rivals. But every record we played at the Mecca, Simon Susan bootlegged, made a lookalike copy. I was getting out and we couldn't find anything, so we started covering our records up, sticking false labels on them, making fake names up, so Susan couldn't find them.
trip to Miami that your parents had booked?
That's 1973. That was the greatest haul. That's when I went back to Blackpool Mecca with Colin Curtis. I bought 4,000 records. Basically, someone had told me about this Goodwill shop. Goodwill is like Salvation Army. The radio station donated the records. People donated clothes for the homeless. This was like a Salvation Army kind of shop.
Yeah.
But they had a whole wall of 500,000 singles with no sleeves on. And they're all 15 cents each. And I went through it took so long to get through 500,000, but I went back every day, 9 in the morning till 6 at night, checking every record. And I bought 4,000. And in those 4,000 were the greatest Northern Soul records ever. Lee David, Temptations, Calling My Name, Louder Evan Jr., The LaRue, Frank Beverly, If That's What You Wanted, The Salvador, Stick Mammy Baby, Bobby Klein, Say Something Nice to Me. These records are now worth thousands. They're all there with no sleeves, waiting for me to find them. And that's how come I had the best Northern Soul collection ever, because those records were all from the 1960s and had been donated to this Goodwill shop to make any money they could sell for the homeless.
Right.
And I spent a fortune in there, although they're very cheap. I mean, 15 cents for a record like Don Garner, Cheating Can, which is now worth 10 grand. So basically, I had to pack them all up in crates, because I'd gone home each night from the shop, and I had a little sort of machine called a discotron, a little square box. You push the record in a slot, and you could play it to listen to it. So I went through to listen to which were the good ones. Anyway, so but there were very few doubles. Not that I could go back and look for another copy. Out of 500,000 records, they were all different. That's the point. And it took a hell of a lot of work to sort them. Anyway, the 4 big crates, 1,000 records in each crate. My parents were going on from Miami to the Bahamas, and they had a little tiny 2 propeller plane, two propellers, small little tiny plane going. It was only half an hour's plane journey. And the weight of the records was such the pilot couldn't get the plane up high enough. He started complaining bitterly. My father had enough. So he said, I'm going to throw all these out into the sea. We're already a low level over the sea.
Wow.
So my mother, I was crying and pleading. My mother joined me to stop him. And eventually the plane got up high enough. But he was really determined to throw those records out the little door into the ocean.
Scary moment.
Yeah.
Now, Radio 1 sent John Peel up to visit your parents' house in Blackpool.
That was 72.
Yeah.
I played a record by Robert Knight called Love on a Mountaintop, which was released, I think, in 67 and had flopped. And everybody loved it. It was a floor filler. I played it. And then the record company officially reissued it, went to number 2 in the pop charts. So they wanted to know all about Northern Soul. So they sent John Peel up to interview me at my parents' house. I stuck with Northern Soul till 79. And it had become much more modern. We even played Sylvester Make Me Feel Mighty Real. And, a lot more disco records than most Northern Soul people would tolerate. By that time, a club had opened in London, Bond Street, called the Embassy Club, which was they're based on Studio 54 in New York, so I used to go there all the time. This was the year I'd first come out. And I used to sit up in the DJ booth with Greg James, who was from Philadelphia. They'd flown to Philadelphia DJing because nobody could mix. So I wanted to learn to mix. So Greg James used to let me come in at 8 in the evening before they really opened, and let me practice mixing on these decks. I learned to mix. He was like my mentor. Then the same people that own the Embassy decided to open up Heaven in Charing Cross in London in December the 6th, 1979. This is the first big gay club ever in England of that size. Held 2,000 people. There's never been anything like it. And it was all based on those big New York gay discos. So at the same time as Heaven opened in London, the same time opened in New York. We opened December 6th of December 79. I think the Saint opened Easter 1980, which was only 3 or 4 months later. So I regularly used to put a stand, I was a backup DJ, used to fly to New York and see what they were doing. The same was magical. It held 5,000 people in a big dome. It was the greatest gay club the world has ever seen. And the music was fabulous.
And that went on for 8 years.
Saint went on from 1980 until 1988. Yes, correct. Yes.
And they had a 3-day-long closing party?
I was there for the whole closing party. Marlena Shaw was on live. She just died about 2 weeks ago.
That's sad.
And Sam Harris and Gloria Gaynor. It's just all-star lineup live. It was amazing. One of my best friends was the DJ there, Terry Sherman.
Mm-mm.
He got AIDS in the 1980s, but when everyone else died from it, was the first person to get the new treatment with what's called a cocktail, AZT, I think it was. Anyway, he survived. He's still alive today. I went to see him in New York when I went for my nephew's wedding in August 2022.
Right.
I still chat with him all the time. He looks gaunt and ill because he's had it so many years, but he's the only person I know who survived it.
AIDS epidemic, is that the reason why the Saint ended up closing in 1988?
Of course, because people used to go to Saint, get drugged out of the man, dance all night, and then on the Sunday go across the road to the St. Mark's Baths, which is owned by the same people as the Saint, Bruce Mailman, and then go back to the Saint for the afternoon tea party. To the Saint and St. Mark's Baths. The problem is that at St. Mark's Baths, they would have anonymous sex with 20, 30 people over the weekend. And of course, once one person had AIDS, they didn't know who they passed it on to because all anonymous sex. This was the same time as I made So Many Men, So Little Time by Michael Brown. It was finished on the Monday, And on the Tuesday, it went to make test pressings. And we got white label test pressings to take to New York on the Thursday, arriving Friday morning in New York. I think it was for the Easter weekend of the Saint. Robbie Leslie was the DJ, and he premiered So Many Men. It was such a major record. He stopped. The set was all about mixing seamlessly. But he used a Donna Summer record, which ended cold. And then there's silence, and they plunged the lights into blackness. The whole crowd screaming and whooping, not knowing what was going on. Then he put on the beginning where it goes boom, 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 boom. Then went bam, 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 and straight away everyone went wild. There's a record shop at Carmine's in the village called Vinyl Mania, owned by Charlie Grappone. And that was the place where all the Saint crowd went. I went there on the Monday morning before I went back to London, and everyone in there saying, "Did you hear that So Many Men So Little Time record? Who made it? What is it?" They're all talking about it. Like, that play had made it a hit. Went back to London and premiered it the next weekend at Heaven. Record Shack was the record shop we bought all our records off. Jeff Weston of Record Shack, I've been nagging him to get back into making records because after 79, when disco was dead, and they blew all those records up at Kaminsky Park in Chicago, no one would touch a disco record. I was making 3 albums with big string orchestras for Soul Soul and the guy who ran United Artists, and they all pulled the plug on me and bounced the checks, and suddenly had a £50,000 bill I couldn't pay. So I had to close down making records. That was in 79. 4 years later, in 83, I persuaded Record Shack to make So Many Men So Little Time. I had the whole plan in my head, but they only would spare $2,000. I went to hire a recording studio. So the French guy who owned Trident Studios used to come into Heaven on the straight night, Tuesday nights, and I would play his records for him. He says, "Ian, I have a fantastic idea for you. You come to my studio in the middle of the night after you finish DJ at Heaven, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and you work through to 8 o'clock. I give you a very cheap deal to do the studio." So that's what we did. That's how we managed to make it for $2,000.
Wow.
If we sell 10,000 records, which I believe we could, on the underground gay scene, I believe you'll make a profit. So we aimed at 10,000 records. We sold 2 million. That's because the French guy says, "Ian, this is so fantastic. I take it to my friend Lanu Lamblan at Carrère, and she will put it out for us." And she put it out, and she had #1 record in France, #1 pop, and sold 1.5 million records.
Wow.
In America, Tom Hayden had started his own label called TSR. I knew Tom Hayden. He was the promotions. He's the disco promotions guy for United Artists when I had 24 hours a day and Doris Jones and stuff. So I knew him from United Artists, you see.
Yep.
He formed his own label called TSR. Tom and his wife was called Susan. So it's Tom and Susan Records, TSR.
Yes.
And he put out So Many Men So Little Time. It was the most played record on New York radio of 1983. And it was huge. It was #1 on Billboard's dance chart. So it did 2 million. It never was a hit in England. Just a club hit.
Yeah.
In fact, its official position was number 76 on the chart, so it never even made the top 75. Missed it by 1 place. But they made up for by such a huge hit in France.
Yeah.
Huge. So with the 2 million sales, the money that we made from So Many Men, I said, I want to go 1 step further. Everyone's calling the music we play high energy music. I want to make a song called High Energy. So I went back to Evelyn Thomas, who had made my first Northern Soul hit, Weak Spot. She was hard to find because she wasn't living in Chicago anymore. She was living in New York and singing with the Fatback Band.
Wow, I didn't know that.
She had a great record, Spread Love, with the Fatback Band. So I found her, brought her in, she stayed at my house, and then Record Shop put up in a hotel, and we made High Energy, which I'd written already for her with Fiacre Trench.
High energy, your love is lifting me. Oh, high energy, your love is lifting me, lifting me high.
And that sold 7 million copies worldwide. To this date, my biggest ever hit. My biggest regret is we couldn't follow it up with anything nearly as good. We liked Masquerade at the time, but it's not a patch. If you look back after 30 years, Masquerade wasn't a patch on High Energy. High Energy was magical. High Energy took the rhythm arrangement from Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood, but it took the beat from In the Navy by the Village People. We want you, we want you, we want you for a new recruit. So High Energy goes chin 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 chin, which was texture of Frankie Goes to Hollywood with the actual rhythm of In the Navy. Jacques Morali and Henry Villolo, who wrote In the Navy, were going to sue us, and JP, the French guy, interceded. He said, look, instead of suing them, why don't you put the record out yourself and have a hit with it? So they did, and they sold 1.5 million in France and had a #1 hit with High Energy. So from going to sue us for plagiarism, instead they had a big hit with it.
Now we're going to talk about Heaven, because you were headhunted to work at Heaven, which...
I was headhunted by Stephen Hayter and his assistant Cass Mann. Stephen Hayter had been the manager of the Embassy Club, so he created Heaven, and Cass Mann, as well as doing Blackpool, because he was in London during the week at a hotel, Holiday Inn, a Swiss cottage. I would then drive back to Blackpool for the weekend to DJ at Blackpool Mecca on a Saturday and Angels in Burnley on a Sunday. Angels was like Studio 54, run by Paul Smith, I'm not sure what his surname was. And they queued around the block to come in, and I played like all mixed together, you know, as the first English-born DJ to do it, mixing the records together, and they queued around the block, and I was playing Sylvester, You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, and 7th Avenue, New York's on Fire, and all these glorious disco records mixed together. And they loved it. And they loved Cass Mann, Stephen Hayter's assistant, came up to Burnley, watched me DJ, went straight back and said he's the only guy for Heaven. So I was told I was put on a low salary to start with as a consultant, and then we would start in December of 79. So in July of 79, I sold my flat in Blackpool, moved down to a little house in London, which my father helped me buy. It was far too small for me now, but in the end I had to move out because there was no room for the records and tapes. That little house is how I started in London. I was all set. Everything was wonderful. Then Jeremy Norman, who owned the Embassy and Heaven, had an enormous fallout with Stephen Hayter and fired him. Brought in his ex-bar manager, David Inches, to run the place. I didn't know David Inches from Adam. He didn't know me from Adam. And his attitude was, why should I be stuck with a DJ that Stephen Hayter hired? So he started interviewing other DJs. And I had to try and appeal to him to keep my job. He had this stupid Dutch DJ called Wim, who was playing all this awful Kraftwerk. He was playing all that kind of stuff. No soul at all. No soul. And I was into glorious disco records with soul, like Phyllis Nelson, Don't Stop the Train, and Stereophonic, Got You Where I Want You Babe, and Technique, Can We Try Again, and all these Heaven hits, these glorious disco records. That's what I'm known for. I'm not, I know, and I hate the kind of Kraftwerk type electronics, which is why some of Giorgio Moroder's stuff left me cold. String orchestras, beautiful uplifting music, not electric music. So I was on the verge of losing Heaven. But a lot of people spoke to him on behalf. How I got the job, I don't know. And as he said to this day, because we felt like I'm talking again to him, thank God he said I did give you the job, because it would have been a very different story if you'd given it to that other person. Because Heaven became unique and became a music, High Energy became a music sound, which led to all those hits in the 1980s. Bronski, Big Bugs, Fizz, Bananarama, Kim Wilde, all those pop hits, Pet Shop Boys, all based on the High Energy sound.
Don't really love me.
Remembering the good times of the 70s, 80s, and 90s.